So pavers have many different applications. They can be used for driveways, pool decks, patios, walkways. They can be in the form of a concrete paver or natural stone. There's travertine. There's also porcelain pavers. So there's a ton of different options that can fit your price range, your application, and there's a lot of different choices. And pavers are a great choice for your patio opposed to traditional concrete. So in this video, I'm gonna help you understand if pavers are a good option for you and what pavers might be best for your specific install. So if you're planning on installing pavers, your range could be anywhere from $11 a square foot up into the $30 a square foot range, depending on the type of material that you choose for your project. Your concrete paver is gonna be your most cost-effective paver, all the way up into your porcelain or your natural stone paver, which are gonna be on the higher end of your paver spectrum as far as pricing. So some of the cost drivers that are gonna drive up the price of your pavers are gonna be material one. Number two would be your access or the type of install that would be needed to install your pavers. You know, if you have a lot of base material that has to be moved out or your access is tighter, that's gonna increase the price of the install just because you're increasing labor and things like that. If you have an install where we can use a lot of machines as far as an excavator or a skid steer, that's gonna lower the cost of your install just because we don't have to use as much manpower to install that project, and it makes it a little easier with those type of equipment. The other thing that's gonna drive up the cost is the material. Again, what you pick, if it's a natural stone, if it's something that's more readily available like a concrete paver, or if you're gonna be on that higher end of that paver spectrum. You know, concrete pavers, there is some super high-end options that are coming out on the market now. Belgard has a lot of good ones that are coming out. So other cost drivers could be if you're doing a driveway application where we have to excavate or you have large vehicles. Good rule of thumb on a driveway is that you're gonna want 6 to 12 inches of ABC base. So that's gonna be a lot of material that has to come in and a lot of material that has to come out in order for that material to come in. So another driver would be elevation changes. You know, if you're on a hill or a slope or something like that. Also the paver size, if you're using a polymeric sand, that's gonna increase the cost because polymeric sand is based on the size of the joint of the paver. So you're gonna have those costs that you have to consider. Other things might be whether you're gonna do bordering or banding on your pavers. If you want a decorative border around the perimeter, that's gonna be a little bit different than the field. So a good option for you as far as most cost effective, still gonna look nice, is gonna be your standard concrete paver. Most people know those as a 6x9, 6x6, 3x6 paver. That's gonna be your most cost effective option. Your better option is gonna be a larger format paver, something that has some texture to it, something in a porcelain or a lower end porcelain. Then your best option is gonna be a higher end natural stone, a bigger format paver that's gonna be a little higher end. You know, some of Belgard's more dynamic styles and things like that, as well as a higher end porcelain or a marble type stone. Those are gonna be your best and most expensive options. So installation process, a lot of people, you know, that have had pavers and had failures with pavers in the past are because pavers were installed incorrectly. The correct way to install pavers, whether it's a driveway, walkway, any type of application, is gonna be using a ABC type base material with a sand bed and then a polymeric sand. Most of the companies in Arizona, not every one of them, and not every one of them fails, are using a quarter minus base material, which is not the correct way to install. You want to install to CMHA standards or ICPI standards, which used to be the standard. Now it's part of the CMHA. You want to make sure that you're installing it to that specification. Also using polymeric sand in your joints. So you're going to want to ask your company that you're having come out and give you a quote on your pavers. You want to ask them what their install technique is and look at some of the projects that they've done. Also see if they're part of the Southwest Hardscapes Association. You want to make sure that they're taking the time to become educated on the correct way to install pavers. There's a lot of companies that can install pavers. It's whether the project's going to last the test of time or it's going to be something that looks good for a few months and then it's going to fail later, which is going to make you, the homeowner, you think that you made the wrong investment in the wrong material, and then you're going to shy away from that material in the future. This is something we want you to have, and it's going to last and stand the test of time for your family. So if you hire AE Outdoor Living to install your pavers. Basically, the process is gonna be, if it's a dirt yard, we're gonna excavate that soil depending on your grade and the height that we're gonna achieve in your final install. If you have concrete or another material there, some types of concrete can be gone over top of, some of them have to be removed, so that's gonna depend on what the actual overall application is that we're gonna be installing on. And then we're gonna bring in your base material, do our compaction, screed out the base material, and then we're gonna install your paver. Then the final thing that's gonna go in there is your polymeric sand that's gonna lock those pavers in place and fill in the joints, and then we're gonna do your borderings and lightings and things like that. So the process is pretty simple, but you also have to make sure that it's done correctly in order for it to last and stand the test of time. So disclaimer on pavers, while we're installing, it's gonna be messy, it's gonna be loud, you're gonna have material dropped off, you're gonna have a semi truck that's gonna pull up in front of your house that's gonna unload that material. While the pavers are going in, you're gonna have a lot of dust. We try to mitigate that as much as possible with water, but it is gonna be a messy process. And then when we're doing all the cuts and doing the cementing of your borders and things like that, it's gonna kind of look like a bomb went off, but promise you, in the end, it's gonna be worth it. You're gonna love your new patio or your new driveway or your new deck. And we want you to understand these things up front, because we don't want you to come in and think that everything's gonna be all sunshine and rainbows. It is gonna be a mess, but we promise you it will be worth it. You can get pretty fancy with pavers. Some of the things you can consider if you want to make things stand out is, again, borderings, or you could do some type of a medallion or an inlay. A lot of times we can incorporate other materials together. You could do a concrete paver with a natural stone inlay or a porcelain inlay if you want to do a normal paver and then do like a wood plank porcelain for an inlay just to make things stand out. Tons of different options. You can get as creative as you want. It all depends on your budget, time frame, and the overall area that you're trying to fill in. So project timeline on your pavers, it all depends on the install, the amount of square footage, the logistical, application, whether we can have material brought right into the area that's going to be installed. For a driveway, your standard install, you can do about 200 to 300 square feet a day, depending on the complexity of the install and the design, as well as how much base material has to come out and how much base material has to go in. Your standard decking, it all depends on the layout. Again, if you have a free-form pool or something that's gonna be cut around, that's gonna add some time to it. Walkways are probably the fastest thing that are gonna go in, depending on the overall install and how many feet. You gotta remember, on a walkway, you got 2 borders. On a patio, you're usually bordering up against something. So it's all gonna depend on the complexity of the design, the material that you choose, and the logistical aspects of your project. So I would say a good rule of thumb on most crews with the 2 to 3 man crew, they can install 200 to 500 square feet of pavers a day, depending on the paver. Again, a larger format's gonna take a little bit more time just because it's a heavier material. Your travertine or natural stone's gonna install a little bit faster, but there is a little bit more detail work to that just because it's not a rectified material. So you're gonna get some highs and lows and things like that, some chips or some pieces that you may have to switch out. So you have to be comfortable with that as well when you're installing a natural stone. So on paver warranties, basically Arizona has standards. You have to have a 2-year install warranty on all of your labor and materials. Belgard, which is a concrete paver manufacturer, has a lifetime warranty if you use a Belgard authorized contractor. So it all depends on the material that you go with. Most natural stones are gonna be a 2-year warranty. Porcelain's pretty much bulletproof. The only thing that can damage porcelain is diamonds or porcelain itself. Obviously, if you drop a bowling ball from 10 feet in the air, it's probably gonna crack. But as far as longevity, it's gonna hold up really well. Again, a Belgard paver, which is gonna be your concrete paver, and that's over any of their pavers. As long as they're installed to CMHA specifications, you're gonna get a lifetime warranty on that material. Most pavers are pretty low maintenance. Most people think that pavers fade over time. It's really not the color fading, it's actually dirt getting embedded into that paver. So depending on the look that you're trying to achieve, it is important every 3 to 5 years to clean and seal your pavers. That's gonna increase the life of the paver. It's also gonna help keep that color If you kind of like the muted, you know, desert tones where, you know, the brightness of the colors is not a huge, you know, look that you're going for, you know, most of the time you don't have to do any maintenance to it. But if you have a natural stone, or you have kids that are spilling things, or you're having a lot of parties on natural stone, you're going to want to think about doing some type of a sealer. Also, if you want to keep those pavers bright and as colorful and vibrant as when they were installed, a sealer is a good idea. Keep in mind that once you do seal that, that is something that's going to have to be an ongoing thing if you want to continue that. So that's an investment that you're going to have to make if that's the route that you want to go. So some people decide to finance their projects. We do have financing available. Most paver projects are under $10,000, so most people kind of, you know, choose to cash flow those projects. But financing is a great way to, you know, extend out those terms and get a little more out of your money, so you're not putting everything out up front. But we do have those options available for you if financing is something that you want to discuss, and you maybe, you know, want to hold on to that money a little bit longer, and depending on what the interest rates are, it may make sense to have the financing in place. But we do have those options available for you. So if you've decided that pavers are an option for you, or that's something that you want to explore more, click the link and explore our paver pricing tool. You can select the paver that you're looking for and then put in the square footages. Obviously it's going to be approximate because, you know, you're not out there measuring every day like we might be. We can actually come out and measure those and give you a firm exact price, but the tool that we have on our website will give you a great range as far as what the pavers might be with install, so you can select a bunch of different styles and get some rough pricing right from the seat of your couch.